What's up, YouTube? What's going on? Welcome back to the Hatters Lounge. It's been a little bit since you guys have heard my voice, and we've actually had a video where I'm giving you my thoughts and opinions. I hope you guys have been enjoying the music videos, and the response on them has been absolutely outstanding. So thank you all so much for the support. I really appreciate it. Now, let's get into this video. So what we're doing here, this is actually going to be something that I haven't done before, and it's going to be a review on killers, and it's something that I want to try out. And the reason for it is because maybe you haven't gotten a killer and you kind of want to have a, hey, somebody that has every killer and has played and has a good amount of time in the game. You can make an informed decision on whether or not you want to pick the killer up for yourself. So where we're going to start off, it seems fitting, the brand new killer, the Trickster. So he just came out in the DLC called All Kill. So who he is a K-pop musician who went certifiably insane, started torturing people, and used their screams of pain and agony for cuts and ad-libs on top of his music. Sounds like a really cool guy at a party. So basically, he essentially got kidnapped by the entity, got sucked into the entity's realm, and lo and behold, here we are with somebody that was really hyped up, and when they came to the practicality, it was really missing. So let's get into why I personally would say save your money until they rework him. Now, let's get into it, shall we? First, I'm going to start you off with. So, the 3 perks that this killer comes with: Starstruck, Hex Crowd Control, and No Way Out. So, Starstruck is probably the only time that I will ever say that a killer has a comfort perk. What it does is when you pick up a survivor, any other survivor that's in your terror radius is exposed for 26 seconds at a base. So essentially what that translates to is there is no more such thing as body blocking, flashlight saving, Sabo plays. It literally makes it so this is mine now. I'm going to go put this on this hook. Get away. Now, the next one that he has is Hex Crowd Control. Now, what this does is it essentially is a survivor cause bamboozle. Whenever there's a fastball over a window, the entity blocks the windows for 10 seconds at a base. Awesome perk. Probably one of his coolest things that is about this killer, that came out with this killer. Great perk. And it's opened up for a lot of fun. No Way Out. This is probably one of the coolest endgame perks that Dead by Daylight has released. So, after hooking a survivor for the first time, No Way Out gains a token. Once last gen is completed, the entity blocks the exit gate switches for 10 seconds plus an additional 4 seconds for each token in your possession. So what does that translate to? It's essentially an end game barbecue and chili. So for every fresh survivor that you get a stack. Every stack adds 10 seconds plus however much for at a base. So you're talking about adding 40 seconds plus a minimum of 4 seconds per stack. And I think this is honestly one of the healthier kind of perks that they can take into this direction, because it really encourages, just like barbecue and chili, it encourages putting the map pressure on all 4 survivors and then waiting until the end game and really being like you thought that you were going somewhere. Really cool perk. There's a lot of really cool. The perks that come with him open up for a lot of really cool builds. So onto his power. So his power is called Showstopper. He starts the trial with 60 blades. He throws knives and he hits people with a baseball bat with a glaive head attached to it. He's so freaking cool. But he's also so weak because it takes 8 knives consecutively to get a damage and or a down state using his power. Let me rephrase. For those of y'all in the back, 8 times with a ranged weapon in a game that is essentially the adult version of hide and seek. Anybody else see a problem with that? No? Just me? Okay, cool. No, it's not just me. It's everybody that has played this killer. So, what essentially happens is when he hits somebody with a knife, they fill up a laceration meter, which they have 8 stacks that they have to get up to, which do decay as well if you don't keep the pressure up with those knives. They do decay over time. I think we worked it out to it's about like 10 to 13 seconds, somewhere in that ballpark, depending on what add-ons you're running with him. But at a base, it's 14 seconds. So you have 14 seconds to continuously hit survivors. And also, I forgot to mention, the flinch that's on him, he physically is moving his shoulders left and right. So no matter what, you're going to be having a new throw pattern after every single time that you hold M2 and hit M1. With PC, of course. So many problems, mate. Now, his special ability is called Main Event, and what it is he gets unlimited knives. He no longer has a slowdown, because I forgot to mention that when he's holding his knives, he has a slowdown that is the exact same as Huntress. So he slows down to Huntress's speed with a 1/8 of the lethality behind it. It's a wonderful thing, let me tell you. So when you hit main event, after using your knives and filling up your meter, which it does not fill up over time, you have to use your knives in order to get your special ability. His throw rate is significantly increased. His movement speed does not decrease after each throw. You can cancel it, but it does also he will throw an additional like 5 to 10 knives at the same time after you cancel your power. Now, he's a 4.4 movement speed base, max base speed killer. So he has the same exact movement speed as Huntress. His terror radius is 24 meters. So again, he has the same exact kind of terror radius as Huntress and Deathslinger. So the ranged, slow moving, small terror radius killers, which honestly is really cool, kind of seems like the theme that DBD and Behavior are going towards, which seems really awesome in my personal opinion. But just they did it wrong with my man, my boy. Look how they did my boy, my boy. Now, moving forward, as to builds that I would suggest with this killer. So the problem that you have with this killer is, besides the fact that his power, you have to hit 8 times, 7 with the add-ons that I'm currently showing you. It's so much work, and it doesn't really work, right? So how do you make this work? So you have to be able to figure out and think outside of the box. When you're playing this killer, you cannot play this game the traditional normal way that you would, say, with Deathslinger or you would with Huntress. Whereas it really doesn't matter if I can hit you with my range, because I can kind of field you to a position where I can get my M1 hit on you anyway, and then back it up with a hatchet, or vice versa, or with Deathslinger. You can mess with people in your ADS and they'll start looping and then they cut themselves off. You can catch up, or you can just straight do the scorpion thing of boom, get over here and reel the survivor in. With Trickster, you don't have those two options. You don't have the immediate, as soon as I make a connection, you're hit for a damage stage, now I have more pressure on you. You have, they're going to continue to run without any interruption. Now, here's also something that we have figured out because we've tested it. Knives do not cause interruptions. Survivors will still be able to complete a generator. Survivors will still be able to complete a totem. Survivors will still be able to complete a heal. Survivors will still be able to complete an unhook while you are hitting them with your knives. There is no interruption whatsoever unless you can get to that 8 stack damage state before they are doing anything. So if you see a survivor and they're on a gen and that gen's about to pop, the first instinct on a ranged killer is going to be use your ranged attack to drive that survivor off. Now, if that survivor says that they want to commit and they stay on that, if you don't cause 8 shots worth of damage as fast as possible, wink at me again, wink at me again, you're not going to stop that gen. So how do you make this work? So the first thing that immediately came to mind because of his terror radius was monitor and abuse. If you don't know what this does, when you're not in a chase, your terror radius decreases by 8. When you're in a chase, it increases by 8. Right? And then your field of view is increased by 10 degrees. Now, what that basically translates to is you start with a 16 meter terror radius at a base when you're not in a chase, and when you're in a chase, you have a regular terror radius that's just the same size as, say, Trapper or Demogorgon or, most of the 4.6 M1 killers, right? So And honestly, with any kind of range killer, Monitor and Abuse and or Shadowborn with the increased FOV is just highly suggested. If you haven't tried it, try it and be careful because you will get addicted to it. Next, save the best for last. Because of the fact that you are only having to throw 8 knives at someone before even causing a damage state, in which case they do 150% movement speed on top of that because they took a damage and now they're running away and you still have to hit them 8 more times. M1ing with this killer is a very good idea. Now, save the best for last if you don't know what it does. It creates a token for every survivor that you're not for every survivor that you hit with your basic attack that's not the obsession. For a stackable 5% all the way up to 8 stacks. So essentially you get a 45% cooldown on your successful hit animation where they have to wipe the blood off, or in his case, he twirls his bat like a damn baton at the front of the marching band. It's actually kind of entertaining. And when you hit your obsession at the max, you lose 2 stacks. So this really kind of works for the fact of you get in close, they don't really know where you are, hopefully you can get a hit, and then your cooldown while they're running away, you don't have to sit through, and then you can immediately start using your ranged attack to put pressure on them while you're catching up, etc, etc. Now, this killer has a horrible problem with map pressure. Quite honestly, he is a great killer for a one-on-one chase. You can more on often if you are a good killer and you know how to mind game and you know how to do the big brain plays, you're going to win your chases. It's just going to take a long time. Honestly, as a rank 1 killer running Corrupt Intervention with him, it eats up, your first chase eats up about 3/4 of your entire Corrupt Intervention, whereas on Huntress, I'm used to that being 2 downs completely and 2 hooks. So it significantly decreases the amount of pressure that you're able to do because you're not able to get quick downs with this killer, mostly because of his movement speed, and secondly because his power takes so many stacks to do damage. So how do you compensate for that? Oppression. If you don't know what oppression does, it came out with the twins. When you damage 1 gen, you damage up to 3 other random generators. If a survivor is on one of those other 3 random generators, they face a impossible level skill check, and it works really well for tracking because most people are not ready when they're randomly on the other side of the map, not ready for an exceedingly difficult skill check to come out of the blue. And it works for tracking because then you're able to see where on the map the rest of the survivors are. Also, again, it applies more map pressure and gen regression towards the group of survivors because you are going to spend a lot of time chasing one person with this killer. And then lastly was going to be a Nurse's Calling. Nurse's Calling, 28 meters away, within 28 meters, if you are healing, I see your aura. So so you immediately get the Monitor and Abuse and Nurse's Calling. It works for the tracking. It works for, okay, where are my survivors? Is anybody hurt? Is anybody injured? And it lets you set up for, because remember, you have 16 meters, so you can literally cut the distance in half and know where that survivor is going to go, know the layout of the map, and see where the best angle. Again, with this killer, you have to be a big brain killer. Like, he has a rating of easy, and I think that was a typo because there ain't no way this is an easy killer. Ain't no way. So, I've been talking about this add-on this entire video and how it takes the shots from having to do 8 stacks down to having to do 7. So this beautiful USB, which is filled full of victims' crisp, clear shrieks that he would incorporate into one of his more popular tracks, moderately decreases each survivor's laceration meter. Flashback to the beginning of the video, laceration meter is the effect that's caused when he does damage with his blades. So basically, literally, it just decreases how many blades you have to get, and it makes your power a little bit more viable. Now, as I mentioned before, he slows down when he's throwing his blades, so you need to be able to compensate for that. Caged Heart Shoes is his best movement speed add-on that he carries. So moderately increases movement speed while you're throwing your blades. Doesn't really do, it's pretty self-explanatory there. And it honestly is one of the, like, this right here is his best add-on combination that I personally can give after almost P2ing this son of a bitch. And so at the Hatter's Lounge, we kind of have a nickname for this guy. It's called Poor Little Tink Tink because when you're getting a hit with a knife, you get a sound notification letting you know that you've gotten a scoring event that goes tink 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 tink. And we call him Poor Little Tink Tink because he just doesn't really, he tries real hard, but it just doesn't really work. So this honestly was the best build that I can figure out to run with him to make him the most viable as possible. Now, if somebody else has another build out there, or somebody else knows something that I don't, please feel free. Please let me know in the comments below. But final review, I think he's overwhelming. He definitely needs help. How I would fix him is probably make him a 4.6 just like everybody else. You know, give him the same speed as Trapper so that way he can have a weak power, but he can still fall back on his M1. And then with his laceration, if the full stacks that you had to get were 5 blades, it would still be enough of a challenge, give survivors enough of an opportunity to get out of dodge and to dodge, and still allow a little bit of counterplay while making the killer's power practical and actually a viable resource to go to. So final thoughts in conclusion, he makes me miss Huntress. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful. If you did, please let me know in the comments below. And he is smexy. I'll give it to him. He is smexy, but for practicality, it just doesn't work, at least not in high rank and high MMR. But thank you guys very much for your time. I appreciate it. Let me know again if there's another build that you guys have for this Trickster, because I would absolutely love to figure something else out. So thank you all very much for your time. I hope you all enjoyed it, and this has been another episode here at the Hatters Lounge. As always, stay blessed. We'll see you next time.